story in the NFL, and it's the latest on free agent Aaron Rodgers. Sources telling ESPN the Vikings discussed the quarterback after he expressed an interest in signing with the team, but they're not moving forward with him at this time, leaving J.J. McCarthy atop the depth chart, and Minnesota still in need of a backup. More on Aaron Rodgers. We bring in our senior NFL reporter, Jeremy Fowler, with much more. If the Vikings are indeed out of the mix, where does that leave Aaron Rodgers' future?
Well, I'm told that Aaron Rodgers has standing offers from both the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New York Giants. So it's up to him to decide. This is his first foray into free agency in 20 years. So really nobody outside of his inner circle knows exactly what to expect. I get the sense, although this is fluid, the sense that Pittsburgh is willing to wait this out a little bit. Rodgers is their top target, so they'll see where it goes. Feels a little un-Steeler-like with this move, but they know that they're close. They got to break through in the playoffs. They're hoping Rodgers can help them. They got Russell Wilson, still sort of a contingency, but he's sort of been number 2, number 3 on their list all along. So I'm told Russell Wilson has seen the Giants as more of a viable option for him throughout this process. So we'll see where it leads. Will the Giants kind of get impatient here and then just make a move and sign Wilson or Joe Flacco or somebody else? That's sort of the question right now.
I said it yesterday. I'm a little bit surprised that Aaron Rodgers has as many options as he has based on what we've seen the last few years. But alas, if we get any news, Jeremy Fowler standing by. Speaking of surprises, J-Fowl's coming back. Could we see a surprise name taken a little bit early on the draft board in terms of Sports Center? The Pittsburgh Steelers have had their fair share of legendary quarterbacks, I'd say, right? Terry Bradshaw, Ben Roethlisberger, but will another one be joining them? It's anyone's guess. They're still waiting on a decision from 4-time MVP Aaron Rodgers. The champ is here. I'm sorry. Let me put some respect on your name. The 2-time champ is here. Booger McFarland joining us now. We just heard Jeremy Fowler say that the Steelers have an offer out to Aaron Rodgers. How do you think they should be approaching this situation while they wait on the decision?
Well, I think the Steelers can afford to be patient, but they really have no other choice. There's really nowhere else they can go right now. I mean, you could always go with the Jameis Winston route or try to get Russell Wilson to come back. But anytime you give DK Metcalf $150 million, you have George Pickens at the other wide receiver who wants the ball, you have Pat Freiermuth at the tight end position, you have to have a quarterback that can get them the football. And right now, I know they signed Mason Rudolph, no disrespect to him, but he ain't going to satisfy the job that needs to be done. So they really can afford to be patient. There are no games being played right now. See what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. And even if the Aaron Rodgers situation falls through, there's an outside chance that the Falcons will trade Kirk Cousins if you make the price ripe enough. So I think the Steelers should just sit pat, relax right now. I think other teams will move on from Aaron Rodgers, and if he wants to play, it'll be Steelers or bust later on this summer.
Oh, man, Steelers fans would say we've already been really patient. Since Ben Roethlisberger retired in 2021, the Steelers ranked 19th in total QBR as a team. Look, Rodgers or not, Pittsburgh should probably want to think about drafting its quarterback of the future, and Coach Mike Tomlin and company reportedly had dinner with Jalen Milroe last night ahead of today's pro day at Alabama. Milroe led the SEC in touchdowns over the past 2 seasons. He did struggle at the Senior Bowl. So, Boog, how do you project Milroe at the next level?
Well, it's going to be very similar to how we looked at Anthony Richardson. If you remember, he went number 4 overall to Indianapolis, and we talked about him being a work in progress. I think Milroe is going to be the same way. I don't think he's going to go in the first round, but I do think he's maybe late second, third round pick, and it's going to be up to a quarterback coach and an offensive coordinator. How do you utilize his strength? You talk about that speed, him running a 4.3 in the 40, while also minimizing some of his weaknesses, which is the ability to be accurate and throw the football down the field. They've been trying to do that with Anthony Richardson up in Indianapolis so far. That hasn't quite worked out. Is there going to be a team that's going to do the same thing with Jalen Milroe? The athleticism and the athletic traits are just too good to pass up. He's going to get drafted. The key will be how fast he can develop as a passer. I can't wait to watch. Very similar how we're watching Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis right now.
Yeah, Armel Kiper Jr. has Milroe as his 7th best quarterback in this draft. I said that you're a 2-time champ, and that means that you're going to have to appear. Sports is back with Elle Dung. Let's go NFL. The Bengals know how to keep their franchise quarterback happy. They signed his top targets. Jamar Chase is now the highest paid non-QB at over $40 million a year. T. Higgins gets over $28 million per year. They talked about staying in Cincinnati.
Signing both of us together, that's the whole goal for us to push this team, push each other, as far as we could go. And, the one goal is to be the best in AFC first. That's going to give us the easiest shot to get to the Super Bowl. And if we win that first, then we're going to take the next step.
I want to win a championship, and I feel like we can definitely win it here. So the money thing is not really the big factor. It's just really being here with the guys and for another 4 years and just trying to win that championship.
All right, as promised, we've got Jeremy Fowler and my guy Booger McFarland standing by. I mean, listen, the Bengals are going to have a championship caliber offense. Well, what about that defense? Where do things stand right now with defensive end Trey Hendrickson?
Well, I just checked in with a source that said things are in a bit of a lull right now. Trey Hendrickson's agents and the Bengals had reignited talks about a potential contract extension in recent days. They have not reached a deal. Hendrickson still wants to be traded to a team that will pay him if the Bengals won't. I'm told there is trade interest, but the Bengals have not shown an eagerness to want to move him. It would take a big package, maybe even a first-round pick for them to move off him. So it's complicated because the pass rush market, L, is huge, $30+ million a year for these top guys. Hendrickson is 30, so all those factors are weighing in, and I think it's entirely possible, based on what I'm hearing, for him to sit out the year if he doesn't get a new deal. I think that's his mindset right now, and it's not posturing. So they got a long way to figure that out, though, the next weeks and months.
Yeah, they got a long way to figure it out. And here's the deal. Trey Hendrickson needs to be paid. And when you talk about $30 million, what about 40? That's what Myles Garrett, that's what Max Crosby getting. And when you look at a guy who's led the NFL in sacks the last 2 years, averaging 17.5 sacks each season, he deserves to be paid like that. And it's my understanding that there are teams around the league that are willing to compensate Trey Hendrickson the way he wants to be compensated. However, the Bengals wanting a first-round pick is just not going to happen. A player that's 30 years old, you're not going to give a first-round pick and then give a guy $35 to $40 million a year. And if you're the Bengals and you've taken care of your offense, to your point, El, you got to take care of the defense. So why not go ahead and reward Trey Hendrickson the way other teams have rewarded their players? It doesn't have to be a 5-year deal. Give him 3 years and $90 million, 3 years and $95 million, because Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Joe Burrow, they might score 40. But that defense is going to give up 50 without Trey Hendrickson. I can guarantee you that.
Well, it worked out so well for them last year, just trying to outscore teams. By the way, you mentioned that he's 30. Here's another number in the 30s. 35 sacks for Hendrickson across the last 2 seasons, 4.5 more than any other player, including those other pass rushers that just got paid. Elsewhere, we move to the draft. It's mock draft season, and we got Mel Kiper Jr. with a surprising move in his latest one. He has the Saints taking Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart with that 9th overall pick. New coach Kellen Moore gets a quarterback that he can develop as Derek Carr phases out. Jay Fowl, what are you hearing about the likelihood that the New Orleans Saints would actually take a quarterback early in this draft?
Yeah, my sense is that the New Orleans Saints are in the quarterback boat a little bit, at least exploring that option. At the Combine, they interviewed some of the top names, such as Shedeur Sanders. So they're taking a look at things, and they're really in a sort of forced marriage with Derek Carr right now because of his contract. They couldn't trade him. I'm told that Carr wanted to explore his options on the quarterback market and actually look around, but he really wasn't